If we could just do something that they shouldn't do such a thing, give them Jerusalem, give them anything, you know, because you get so scared and you look at this monstrosity and you realize all of your friends are going to be going to war and they can die, and you know, your family, and you get so worried and you want to preserve what you have and what you love, and so you think, can we just give them something? And then I realized, no, we can't. This kind of monstrosity can't be appeased. It has to be fought.
Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has agreed to engage in peace talks with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas following a meeting in Annapolis that reignited the peace process after a 7-year lull. Israelis want Palestinians to rein in militants in Gaza and the West Bank. Now, Gallup finds that while a majority of Israelis do support the peace process, we've seen a decrease in that support from 2006 to 2007. Do you support the peace process here?
No, not at all. It's not peace that's being processed right now. What's being processed right now is negotiations. We're in a negotiating process, and the negotiations have, since '93, when the Oslo process started, been a process of putting more and more pressure on Israel to give land to the Palestinians, while the Palestinians, for their part, become more and more rejectionist, more and more dedicated to the destruction of Israel.
Caroline Glick moved to Israel from the United States 17 years ago. She's an editor at the Jerusalem Post and adamantly opposed to the current peace process. Has your belief always been this way, or has it changed over the past
When I was
years?
in the Army, in the 1990s, I coordinated the negotiations with the Palestinians in the Ministry of Defense, and I was in all the negotiating sessions with the Palestinians and wrote many of the agreements that were signed during the Oslo process from 1994 to 1997 when I left the Army. And I have to say that if I had any hope that the Oslo process that began in 1993 would lead to peace, that hope was destroyed during the course of the negotiations.
Do you think that peaceful negotiations is a way to achieve peace in this region?
Do you know other way to achieve peace in this region other than negotiation? I think we tried different ways, and we tried wars, and we tried attacks, and we tried the military force. Nothing helped. Nothing helped to achieve peace, and I think you cannot achieve peace by force.
Sa'ar Nathaniel is a member of the City Council for the Jerusalem municipality. As an outspoken supporter of civil rights for Palestinians and an advocate of a two-state solution, he is in a minority amongst many of his peers in the City Council.
I wanted to join to a party that deals with the peace process and civil rights, because I don't understand people that are fighting for civil rights for one community. If I believe in civil rights, so I need to fight for civil rights for all the population.
So you obviously believe in the peace process?
There is no other choice, there is no other alternative. It's not that I think it's going to be very easy. But I believe that there is a right for the Palestinians to have a state and for the Israeli people to have a state.
Israelis, like Palestinians, are divided over what to do with Jerusalem. And Gallup finds that when Israelis were presented with 4 different options, they showed the most support for a divided city, with Israeli sovereignty over West Jerusalem and Palestinian sovereignty over East Jerusalem.
But the Palestinians should be responsible on their own territory, and East Jerusalem should be the capital of the Palestinian state. And in the holy places, we should compromise.
There's absolutely no reason to give them East Jerusalem. It's never been the capital of anything except Israel. A country that gives up its capital city is eventually going to stop existing, and they know that, and that's why they insist on dividing Jerusalem. You can't divide Jerusalem, and this is the eternal capital of the Jewish people. It's ours, and we're not going to share it with anybody in terms of sovereignty.
In speaking to Israelis, I did hear a divide when it came to their support for the peace process. Some Israelis still have hope that they'll achieve a peaceful coexistence with their Palestinian neighbors, but others believe negotiations will never bring a lasting peace. So how do you think it needs to end?
Well, we're at war. We have to win it.
So by force?
Of course. We're at war. You can't negotiate away a war. When you're at war, you have to win a war. You can't pretend it doesn't exist because you don't feel like fighting it or because the United Nations will be angry with you for fighting it. Our lives are worth no less than the lives of anybody else on the planet. And we cannot abide by a situation where you have a society living inside of us.
What do you hope will happen with the peace process in this next year?
I think if it won't happen this upcoming year, I don't see it happen at all. I really hope that I think we have a very, very tiny window that we can do something. But if we won't be clever enough to use that window and to talk and to have agreement in that year, I don't see it happen. And the Middle East and the situation in the Middle East will be worse and worse.